updates, stories, and simply all things Johnson University. I'm Canena Adams, your host and Director of Marketing and Communications here at Johnson University. I am so excited because today I have the pleasure of interviewing Andrew Frazier, Vice President of Student Life.
Thank you, Canena.
Thank you, Andrew. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you. I've been on the edge of my seat, literally, because I'm just so excited to just really talk about your role here at Johnson University. So for those who may not know you, do you mind to just share a little bit about yourself?
Yes, yeah. Well, thank you again for the opportunity. I love any chance I get to talk about students and about Johnson. So yeah, I've been a part of the Johnson community now for about 16 consecutive years.
Wow.
So if you include my time as a student, which began in 2009, I was led to Johnson before that, like many good alumni, by being introduced by a former alumnus of Johnson,
wow,
who was my youth minister, back at a church outside Atlanta, Georgia, Hamilton Mill Christian Church. And I had always known I wanted to study in a Christian environment at a Christian university, but to be introduced to Johnson was a wonderful experience. I got to visit what we used to call Spring Retreat, which was a retreat for high school students to come and visit campus and explore all that Johnson has to offer. And I immediately fell in love with the place, the people, and the mission of the institution, and so I knew I wanted to come here. It didn't hurt that my brother came here first, and so I got to follow in his footsteps and have a familiar face. But it was a great time studying here at Johnson. Graduated in 2013 with a bachelor's degree in nonprofit administration and Bible and theology. And then I never left. They just can't get rid of me. So I began, like many good higher ed professionals, in the admissions office. That's sort of how I started here at Johnson, and really loved working and promoting the university for that year. It was very meaningful. But an opportunity came up to then move over to the academic side of the institution in the registrar's office. Awesome. So I jumped at that and served as an assistant in the office for 3 years. And then the opportunity unfolded to become the registrar after that. And I did that for 5 years, getting to oversee the academic side of things related to advising, grades, persistence to graduation, putting on the graduation ceremony, and things like that. And I loved it, had a wonderful experience in that department, working for academics. But ultimately, I could tell that my passions were lying with supporting our students. Awesome. And really getting to that essence of student support. And it was after quite a few conversations with then President Tommy Smith, who asked if I would consider becoming our next Vice President for Student Life. And I'm so grateful for the investment in me, especially as a young professional. And I'm now in year 3 in this role, and I love it. I enjoy supporting Johnson's students, supporting our mission, and promoting that mission far and wide.
Awesome. So what does a typical day look like for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a hard question to answer for a lot of student life, student development professionals. In fact, many of them would probably tell you that you can't really write a good job description for my profession. But no, I would say first and foremost that my job is very relational. So I have the ability to lead a wonderful team here at Johnson. And I'm grateful to support the work that they get to do. You know, our role, our goal is to support the students. So we're completely student-centric, student-focused. So in a relational sense, I get to encourage the work that they do in residence life, in career services, in intramurals and recreation, in campus ministry and chapel, health services, multicultural student affairs. There's a lot of things that go into student life. So yeah, I get to support my team in what they're doing. But then also I try and spend as much time as possible with students, whether that's attending ball games, whether that's walking around the buildings while classes are going on, eating lunch in the cafeteria, visiting the dorms, whatever that may look like. Being with students is such a huge part of my day-to-day work. And then emails. A lot of emails. You
gotta love the emails,
That's right. But good communication matters, and being able to communicate is ultimately how we ensure that all our students are cared for and supported.
Amazing. So student life covers so many areas, right? So what excites you the most about the work that you get to do?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thinking about all of these different areas that student life encompasses, it's kind of exciting to think about the fact that we get to journey with students in their educational experience. Obviously, we're an academic institution, so what they're doing in the classroom is of primary importance. And at the same time, we're journeying with them in a learning community for 4 or however many years they're here. So thinking through the fact that all of it's connected. Again, like I said, whether it's in the dining hall or on the ball field, in the residence halls, or just out having fun in Knoxville, we want our students to be supported in a holistic sense. The phrase that I like to use a lot is, we do care about what you're learning. That's why you're here. But we also care about who you're becoming as a person.
I love that.
And so the work that we get to do, and what excites me about it, is we get to think of the whole student, not just their grades, not just their performance, if you will, which are important, but their journey, their discipleship journey, their faith journey, their growth into professional adults. It's an all-encompassing thing, which is pretty cool.
Right, and you mentioned discipleship, and that's actually my next question. I know that is one of the bigger priorities for student life right now. And so can you tell us more about why this is the #1 core value?
Yeah. So that question that you and I have talked about personally before, discipleship is of critical importance to us. So I got with my team, especially when I first started in this role, and we got to think through what are the most important things in this student journey, especially for us as a uniquely Christian institution here at Johnson with a Christian mission. So we came up with 4 core goals or tenets or values. You know, there's a lot of different terms for them. And discipleship was that first one. We also leaned into leadership and engagement for our students. Student care was the third one, and then professional development, which was inwardly focused on us. We developed these core values for our team, but we were pretty intentional with listing discipleship as #1. And the reason that we did that is because, again, Johnson has a Christian mission. It is core to who we are, and it's of eternal significance to us that students not just grow and develop in their knowledge, but also have that formed and shaped when it comes to their discipleship journey. So that it's about fulfilling our mission as an institution. And we want students to become students of Jesus, not just students of their discipline. And it's a part of their journey here at the institution to grow in their faith, to ask good questions, to wrestle with things, and not just take the faith that they were given, which is a great foundation from their families or their backgrounds, wherever they're from, but then to own it and to make it their own and to grow into a lifelong journey with Christ. So
I love the part of owning it. I really love that part, and it makes me ask the question, how would you define discipleship? Because maybe there's a student or someone watching and they don't necessarily understand what that looks like in actuality. So could you just kind of explain that in layman's terms, what it looks like to be discipled?
Yeah, that's a great question. In fact, it's one that I've wrestled a lot with myself in my own journey, but then also thought a lot about alongside many of our professors and student life staff, our campus ministry team, because we want students to understand that there's more to discipleship than maybe what it seems on the surface level. So first and foremost, we want students to know that it's important once you make that commitment to follow Jesus, that it's a lifelong commitment, that it's something we want to endure into all of life. And it's more than just, hey, I'm going to heaven, that's great, and I'm not going to hell. And of course it is those things. But it's also, what are you doing with your life here on this earth? How are you living out the teachings of Jesus? And then also teaching others the things that Jesus lived out. So it's sort of this generative approach to discipleship. And we want students to grasp that. We want them to make their faith their own, to see that it's a lifelong journey, and to take on the yoke of Jesus as teacher and as master. And so for discipleship for us is taking our students wherever they come to us in their faith journey. And we know that they're here for certain reasons, to study in a Christian environment, and they already follow the Lord, but we want students to transcend where they've come from and move into that next phase of life, because there's a lot of transition points in this phase of a student's journey. There's a lot of development that happens from ages 18 to 24 and moving into ages 25 and older. So we want them to be able to hang onto that faith after graduation and it's very important for us as a team, as a department, and as an institution to lean into discipleship.
No, that's awesome. And that makes me think when you talk about their maturity level, I remember teaching a class. I was a teacher at one point. And I remember talking to my students, and they did something that was just really immature. And they said, "Hey, Miss Adams, remember, I'm not mature yet." And I said, "No, that's why I'm here to teach you and help you."
Yes,
But I love that you mentioned that part. So what are some ways that students can get involved in discipleship opportunities here on campus?
Yeah, so when you think about discipleship in general, and again, why that's an important part of our approach here, that not just what you're learning, but also who you're becoming, it's really infused, or we try to infuse it into everything that we do. So, you see our professors pray before and after class, and they know you. They want to know you by name. You're not just another ID number or a statistic or a figure in the crowd. So professors praying before class, students spontaneously hosting worship nights and prayer events, dorm devotions and stuff happening in the hallways. I know of conversations that last probably way too late into the night because they've got class the next morning, but just talking about faith and why all of this matters. So it's really embedded into this student experience, and we want that. We want it to be all-encompassing here. But for students to get involved, there's of course those natural things, but also some very intentional things as well. So of course, chapel. What we do in this room in chapel, 2 days a week, where the whole campus gathers together and focuses on God, focuses on their relationship with the Lord. It matters. It matters that we collectively join together as a community in worship. We also have our campus ministry efforts, which include our mentor groups. So students getting to be involved with mentors in smaller settings where they can be known by others. Those experiences matter. Students also getting to lead and leading Bible studies on campus. We've even had partners and donors who are friends of the university who have given money so that we have a Bible study fund where we can purchase materials and encourage that part of a student's discipleship journey here at the institution. Service learning, where our students go out and serve into the community and get involved in Knoxville. There's a lot of ways that are intentional for us in encouraging that discipleship journey, but I'll also acknowledge the ways that it just happens organically. And we want to encourage that too. That second core value that I mentioned of leadership and engagement is, I think, and I believe this, we'll have a much more engaged community when students take the lead. So if we can invest in their leadership on our campus, then we're going to have a more engaged community. And when our students step up and lead in that way, I think that's where we see a lot of the really powerful, transformative discipleship efforts take root. And that's just a joy to watch.
Oh, right. That's amazing. And I even think about just being part of the staff. I remember coming home and showing my husband a video, and I said, "Look what I get to do at work. I get to actually worship God at work."
So good.
It's like part of the culture there. And so I think that's just so amazing. So it's not just the students, like it's impacting the entire campus. It's the culture that we have here at Johnson, and we're so blessed. And I know that you've been here much longer than I have, but I can only imagine what you've experienced over 16 years.
So good, so good. I love bragging on our students, I really do.
Amazing. So how have you seen discipleship impact students' life, even outside of campus?
Yeah. So one story comes to mind, and it's really more of a story that's representative of a multitude of stories that we see in the lives of our students. I particularly, and of course I'll be a good vice president for student life and make sure for privacy reasons I don't mention any names, but just a young man who graduated from here, who was older. This was sort of a second chance at college. And he came to our campus, older than our traditional age students, but just fully bought in to what we're about here. And I'll even say, having that older presence on campus is such a gift. So for any of our listeners out there that are still considering that next phase of your educational journey, if you want to come here and study, we'd love to have you. For those that are in an older age bracket, to be involved with our community, especially those 18 to 22-year-olds, it's impactful. And this gentleman at the time was fully invested in campus life and brought that life experience to it. And he became a leader on this campus,
Wow.
became a leader in some chapel efforts, in what was going on in the dorms with discipleship and Bible studies and dorm devotions and those kinds of things. And also came from a tough background. This was a second chance that he didn't ever think he would get.
Wow.
And I just remember cheering along with him
Yeah.
at graduation when he crossed the
Yeah.
finish line and finished, and is now out doing ministry and doing really cool things in local ministry and in all kinds of other ministry efforts. And those are the kinds of stories where we see discipleship efforts become generative here on campus, so that our students are learning to lead other students, their fellow students. And we want them to take that out
Right.
as a Great Commission institution into the world. Go and make disciples. That's exactly what our mission talks about, and advancing the mission of Christ. As we think about our students graduating and going out into the world, we want them to have the experience of growing in their faith, but sharing that faith, so that it is that generative process. And those kinds of stories they get me
Yeah.
out of bed in the morning. So.
Absolutely. You've kind of already answered this question, but just if you want to elaborate a little more, what role do faculty, staff, and students play in creating that culture here of discipleship?
Yeah, when I think about the discipleship journey for any of us, for our students, for me and you, for anybody listening at home, it can't happen in isolation. Discipleship is meant to be done in community, and we see that example very clearly in Scripture. You know, Jesus didn't get one friend; he got 12 of them, and then a multitude of those that followed him. And it needs to be done in community. And so, especially thinking of faculty and staff in particular, we have a pretty high number that live on campus, which is not a common thing in higher ed these days, where you have a large number of professors and staff members, student life people, who are there to support you, who actually live here in community with our students. So they're getting to actually practice this discipleship stuff in real time.
Yeah.
What are they learning in the classroom? Well, let's apply it to real life. So they get to see our families, including mine. My wife and my 3 kids live on campus. They get to see this example of Christian living. And I'll tell you, if they want to pray for patience, I'll be happy to let them come babysit my kids so they can learn in real time what that looks like. And it's just a joy to be in community in a ways that we're all doing this together.
Yeah.
I mean, we're involved in not just their success in the classroom in terms of performance and grades, but also their development as Christ followers. And so it's just a joy to be in community together. And then again, students leading students. We want them to grow in their leadership abilities in order to make this community more engaged and more connected.
Powerful. Amazing. All the things, right? So how can alumni and parents support this emphasis on discipleship from afar?
So first and foremost, my request would be to pray. I would want to encourage all of our friends, our alumni, our parents, our supporters to pray for our campus. Pray for God's movement in the lives of our students. Pray for the Spirit to be active and welcomed. We know that the Holy Spirit is already here on this campus, but we want to welcome the Spirit into the lives and the activities of our community. Pray for students to find what their calling is, their vocation, what they're seeing God asking them to go out into the world and do. Pray for that journey, that development for them. So pray. I would ask for our community to pray. For our parents out there, I would specifically ask you to have good conversations with your students. Ask them questions every semester. Where are you seeing God show up in your studies? Where are you seeing the Lord show up in your life? How have you learned and grown in your faith? And not just to ask that on their first semester or their second semester, but ask it every semester, because there's like we talked about earlier, there's a lot of change that happens in these formative years of our students' lives. And I'll even lean back into encouraging this generation, because there's a lot of research out there about Generation Z. You can look at Gallup and Pew Research that says there's dwindling numbers in the American church And we take that very seriously. We take that as a call as an institution to support the church and not only equip and train those that are going to do vocational ministry in the church, which is still very important and the core of what we do, but in the world of business and teaching and counseling and science and math and all of the fields that we have here at Johnson, we want our students to go out into those fields and be the hands and feet of Jesus in the world. And what that research is showing us as these numbers have dwindled is that some of the most jarring numbers are in the youngest age brackets. Yeah. So we want to encourage this generation of student to take faith seriously, and we want our parents to walk alongside of their students in this journey. And we're here to support you, parents. Hear me say that. I like to use the analogy of the tandem bicycle. I don't know that many of us have ever ridden a tandem bicycle.
With
have
my
you?
husband.
Have you? Yeah.
It was interesting.
It's an experience of trust, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And so to our parents out there, what the analogy that I use here with this tandem bicycle is, as your student goes to college and they come here as an adult on their own, figuring these things out, we're not asking you to get off of the bicycle, but we are saying, hey, it's time to get into the back seat of that tandem bicycle. You are still helping pedal. You are still a part of your student's journey, but you've got to let them get in the front seat. And we're here we're not on the bike with you, but we're running alongside you as you all pedal as a family in this faith journey. So that's my prayer for parents, is that they would support us in that way. And then to our alumni and friends as well, send us students. We care about our mission here. You as alumni have benefited from it. So send us those students that are going to be the next generation to equip the church, to fill the church, and to bring the word of God to all the world.
Yeah, I feel like you're preaching to me as a parent.
Goodness, yeah.
I have 2 college students right now, and my husband and I, sometimes we want to stay in the front of that bike, but I do understand everything that you're saying makes perfect sense. So amazing.
Yeah.
So how does student life support students in their personal, spiritual, and professional growth? What would you say the holistic approach is here at Johnson?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So when we think about, obviously there's personal, spiritual, and professional growth, like you said. So we think about the student as the whole person. Again, they're not just another ID number or face in the crowd, but we care about their development. So when we think about personal development, we want them to learn life skills.
Right.
We want them to practical things.
Yeah.
Things like how to do your taxes. I'm working with a task force right now that's thinking about life skills. How can we help our students know how to budget, how to do finances, how to do their taxes.
Budget, yeah, because our kids think that we're the ATMs right now.
That's right, yeah. And it's about that journey into adulthood of these are going to be your decisions here soon.
Yeah.
How to make decisions, how to plan for the future, those kinds of things. So we want to have programs and services that think about their personal development. Spiritual development, as we talked about, discipleship is so important, and what we do here in chapel and mentor groups, in campus ministry, in dorm life, that all contributes to spiritual growth. And then professional growth too. Again, thinking about vocation and calling. What are they being led to? How can they be successful in that, in varying definitions of success? It's not just the biggest paycheck, or for preachers the biggest congregation, or for business leaders the biggest business, but success is making an impact. And our students are telling us that. Our alumni surveys oftentimes are showing our students think they're making a difference in the world. And that means a lot to us as an institution. But in addition to that, sort of an overarching answer that I would say is we want our students to be supported and challenged. So there's sort of a dual approach there.
Right.
So we've got services for them that help support them, but then we also want to challenge them. We want them to learn to be resilient, to grow and face life's challenges.
Yeah.
They're going to be out there in the world, after graduation, moving into that next phase of their journey. And we want them to be strong and courageous, to not fear, to trust in the Lord and lean not on their own understanding. And we can preach a sermon on that too. And it's a joy to see our students grow, that they're not the same person they were when they stepped through the door day one of freshman year.
Right.
When they cross the stage at graduation, they are a different person. And praise God, that's a good thing. They've grown, they've developed, they've flourished.
Yeah.
That's our goal. That's our goal.
I love how you articulated that, because it gives this visual of a journey that the expectation isn't for them to be there when they first step on the campus, but it's a journey that we're all taking together. I love that. So what do you think makes Johnson student life unique?
Yeah, that's a really good question. For me, and I've touched on it a couple times, I would probably lean into that idea that you're not just an ID number. You're not just a number in the crowd or on a spreadsheet. We care about you.
Yeah.
Our professors want to know you by name. They want to know what's going on. How are your grandparents doing? We heard that they were sick. You know, hey, how's family life? We heard there's some financial struggles. How can we pray for you? Our faculty are very intentional in that regard, as are all of our employees, our student life team, our staff here on campus, just in general. We want students to know that they matter to us. And that's sort of the benefit of choosing a smaller private institution like Johnson. There are a ton of great institutions out there. Large public universities, state schools, large private universities, all of them have such good things to offer. But I feel very strongly that we care personally, and that goes a long way.
Yeah.
I mean, whether it's students that they need prayer for specific things. We have stories upon stories of our community stepping up when a student goes through crisis or a family emergency or some kind of accident. We've seen some really cool movement from our community to really just to rally around our students, and that ultimately Christ is at the center of all of it. And so I can't say enough good things.
Awesome. So if you could give students one piece of advice as to how they should navigate their college years, what would it be?
Yeah, my thought with that would be, we have a ton of great resources here at the institution. We've got counseling resources, we've got health services resources, we have career services to help you with vocation and calling. We've got a host of resources, academic support, tutoring, disability services. I mean, we can list a whole lot of resources. But I would encourage students, and those thinking about that next phase, is we can provide all the resources in the world, but you have to own this journey. You have to make it your own, and we can lead you. That old saying, we can lead the horse to water, but you can't make the horse drink. We have all these resources, and they are for our students. But own this journey, make it your own, and really enjoy it. That would also be my encouragement too. Is college supposed to be fun and enjoyable and a time of new experiences and growth and development? So enjoy it too. You don't have to live your entire 4 years in one day. Or 1 week, or 1 month, or even 1 semester. It's a journey that encompasses a whole lot of experiences, and to just enjoy the process.
Awesome. So we're getting down to the last questions. My next question is, what are some key initiatives or programs that Student Life is working on?
Yeah. We've got a lot of things going on these days, but a lot of really exciting things. As I've mentioned, career services is a big emphasis for us, especially this year in particular. So we've launched a platform called Handshake, which there are a lot of schools that have, but we're excited to really lean into it. And it gives students the opportunities to explore job opportunities and internship opportunities, sort of get some exposure to what kinds of careers are out there. We have a wonderful director of career services in my department who helps students with mock interviews and resume reviews.
Awesome.
Job shadowing opportunities, and just the ability to experience those things that are out there and ask good questions about what do I want to do with my life, and where is God calling me. Frederick Buechner says that the place that God is calling you is the place where your deep gladness and the world's deep needs come together. And we want students to see that and sort of experience that. So also too, in relation to career services, we launched a program called Pathway U, which we've used in our first year studies class with all of our true freshmen. And it helps explore you answer a few questions and it gives you some feedback. Where are some areas that you have strengths? Where are some things that they're seeing and identifying passions for you? So we've got a lot of good work going on in the career services world. I would also highlight and emphasize particularly mentor groups as a program on the discipleship side of things. Campus ministry, our campus minister's done a great job leading this program. But our mentor groups, they're small. They're meant to be 6 or 7 students, and they're led by either a faculty or staff member or a peer, an older peer student.
Oh, okay.
And the goal of these groups is for our students to know others and to be known. And we want it to be relational, because we also can read a lot about how hard the world can be these days when it comes to making friends or having deep, meaningful relationships and connections. So we want our students to have this built-in opportunity to meet friends, to meet someone like a peer leader or a mentor leader that cares about them, and ask questions about faith and their journey here at Johnson. And so that's a huge program we've been working on in the last couple of years. And then probably the third thing I'd love to highlight as something Student Life has done a lot of work with this year is what we're calling Royal Care.
Okay.
And I
love that name.
Yeah, shout out to our University Counseling Center director and our campus minister and many of our other Student Life team members. But Royal Care is sort of a host of a suite, if you will, of well-being resources.
Okay.
So we've got opportunities through You Will, a company that we partner with for virtual counseling.
Okay.
In addition to in-person counseling that we have here, but this is to supplement. Maybe students have a busy schedule and virtual would be a better option for them. We also have a 24/7, 365 support hotline it immediately connects a student with a licensed professional, and that can be in a moment of crisis, or it can just be a moment of, I need support. I'm feeling anxious right now. I just need someone to talk to, even at 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
They can pick up that phone, call that number, and get connected with someone right away. We also, within this suite of offerings, we have what we call the Royal Check-In, which our counseling department team does, these little 30-minute check-ins with students. It's not meant to be therapy or counseling, but it's just meant to give students a chance to take a breath, to ask good questions, and then to come up with a plan of action in stressful moments or in stressful times. So those Royal check-ins go a long way. And so our Royal Care, it includes a few other resources as well, but we gave every student a key tag on their keychain that has a QR code on it, so they can access it so easily from their phones at any time. And it's been a great program that we've gotten launched this year.
Awesome. Well, Andrew, it's been great having you. The conversation has been amazing. I mean, and I expected that. That's why I was so excited about it. But before we go, how can students, parents, or alumni connect with you if they just want to learn more about student life and what you're doing?
Yes, absolutely. So first off, visit our website. I'd encourage, come check out our website, go to the Student Life tab there on the main page, and you can find all of our resources, our things that we call the serious stuff and our things that we call the fun stuff. So there's all that information on our website. I'd also encourage, for those that have social media on Instagram in particular, we've got a Student Life Instagram, and a shout out to our Student Government Association too. Their SGA is doing a lot of good work in providing fun activities and leadership for our student body. So check out those pages online, and you can see a lot of the fun stuff going on campus.
Awesome. Well, Andrew, thank you again for joining us, and thanks to everyone for tuning in. Until next time.